Lunch today is going to be actually at Golden Corral, not Bob Evans. Lunch today is at Golden Corral. We decided to change that up. So it was going to be Golden Corral, not Bob Evans. I also have to stress this, and I'm really happy to make this announcement. You know, I've had people come up alongside me and help me to do what we're doing. And it's taken, I have several bosses up north. Some of you know who you are. I'm not alone in this. And the more I see God bless it, the more I have a clear understanding of what God's doing here and the people that God brings in to what we're doing here. You know, every once in a while I get someone that wants to knock the church, and apparently they should find some better things to do. Just to put that lightly. Because God's blessing the church. First thing, I already mentioned, we're going to be doing Golden Corral. Second thing, for most of the summer remaining after today, we will not be going out to eat. We will be having potlucks. Because one thing that a lot of us did not like, when we went somewhere to eat, we usually had people that they either didn't have transportation, they did not have money. It was usually one of those two factors, so that when we were going out to eat, we talk about, well, so-and-so was going to come, but they couldn't. You know, we really wanted to change that around. Because we want to make sure everybody eats. We want to make sure everybody that comes in here, anybody that's in need, you should be eating. And, you know, this whole thing, when we first started, we called it Close to Home Church. Why? So that we can be close to home. You know, for some people, they couldn't get out. They couldn't go anywhere else. There was nothing for them to go to, and they didn't want to go to one of them bigger churches that some people just think are so much better. They didn't want to go there. So we're here. And we've given people a place, and so one thing we thought of is when it's time to eat, when we have that first Sunday and we're all going to eat together, we're going to make sure to do it here. We're going to do it here so that everybody can eat. And there's a couple things I want to stress in that. We're going to be doing Carmen. I said you were getting a speech therapy this morning. Can you say potluck?
Potluck.
Very good.
Or Ariane.
Stop it. Me and Carmen, that's a joke that we had. Because Carmen had trouble with potluck. I want to stress something here. We're going to be doing potlucks. And maybe sometimes we'll make a menu. We're going to know what that food will be, so we can pick one person that'll get this, another person that'll get that. And so between maybe 5, 6 people, we can get everything. Right? Another thing I'm going to stress, for anybody that doesn't bring anything, we don't care. The reason we're doing it here is so people that don't have much can still come and enjoy it. I will not be taking plates to people that don't want to participate. I want everybody to eat, but there ain't nothing wrong for them coming here to eat. I'm not going to deliver. I will take food and deliver it to people that cannot get out. Not that won't come out, but that can't get out. Because we have some people that really have a hard time getting out at all. We are going to make sure to take food to them as well. I'm very excited that we're able to bring this. I'm very excited about it because we're going to be doing exactly what we should be doing. If people don't have, it doesn't matter. Bring your appetite. Have fun, enjoy the food. People are working together to make sure you can eat. Come and enjoy it.
Can I interject, Ed? And this is from the food pantry because that's what I do. If you don't have anything and you want to bring something.
Some people don't know how to heat things up very well.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Right, Beth?
Yeah, they're $100.
I wanted to have fun with that, but I guess that's part of what got us to what the message is going to be today. I was really excited about that because that's what we're supposed to be doing, is helping people in the community. That's what every church should be doing, is helping people here. And going out to eat where people couldn't participate. That just wasn't suiting a number of us. So I'm pretty excited about this. I think we're going to have some good meals together. That would be the prayer. But it also did set the tone for the message today, because food. No, don't be. Oh, good thinking, Carmen. It's going to be nice to see you all there, and I'm really looking forward to
mixed up together.
I'm really looking forward to what I talked about
I'm sure your
today.
mom did the same, and your dad.
Anyway.
You know when they got to go down to the list?
But that was important. I was really happy to bring that up. Now the message today, one thing I thought about last night is since the beginning. Since the beginning. And thinking about food is what got me into the direction I'm going to today. Since the beginning, when the Israelites were taken out of bondage, out of Egypt, if they couldn't eat what they wanted, they were ready to go back. What a shame that is. See, we went from just being glad that we could eat to now all of a sudden, and for some people, it's not good enough to eat. They have to have an abundance. It's not good enough that we're eating. What are we eating? Are we enjoying it? Since the beginning, it has been so that people, when taken out of bondage, were willing to go back to it just because they remembered the food they used to eat there. What a shame that God does something for you and you reverse it. You bring profanity to the meal. Whatever that meal may be, you bring profanity because we're not even thankful for the provision. They were ready to go back to Egypt numerous times. If the church got much worse than some churches are now, and the prison had better food, how many people go back to prison just to eat good? I mean, that's what it equates to. That's a pretty sad thing that God does something good for you, and it's not good enough. Well, it could have been better. Well, then go somewhere else. If I ever hear a complaint about what we bring in the morning, I just remind people, we don't have a menu. We have sweet treat that we give. We don't have a menu. I never ask anybody what they like because I'm not going to take time to think of one person over especially when we have 30-some people. Everybody matters. And the fact that it's there, some people would say this, so I might as well have fun with it. I'm bribing you to come to church, so you might as well enjoy it. That's why that food is up there, right? I got to bribe you all to come in here. Yeah, you got to go to one of them bigger churches. Sorry, I'm not doing all that. I like to have fun with it. But on a serious note, too often people were not satisfied. Here it is, something that God has always provided, and we take it so much for granted that we forget the value of it. When I think about that, I think about when they were receiving manna. Before they went into the promised land. Once they were in the promised land, they were eating food there, the manna stopped. But does anybody, and I would say some of us need to think about this ourselves. Can we go back to that point where they were in manna, where that's all they had, and be thankful for that? That was a menu offered only to them. It was a special menu that God gave you a gift every morning. You were able to eat every day. God provided that. And sometimes, and unfortunately, this isn't just food, it's in a lot of things that we have that every day. We wake up and we have these provisions, and sometimes we're just like the Israelites, where it's not good enough. We think life can be better. We're not happy. His provision, and we profane it. I just have to think about that a lot. And, you know, it does equate to people go back to prison. Go back to Egypt just so you can enjoy your food. Really? Of all the things that God gives you every day, and food has to be the top of the list. For people that are in that area, you have a problem. If you cannot be thankful for what's before you, something's wrong. And that goes for each of us. And that goes in not just food, but in many different areas of life. When we're not happy with what God has given us, you know, anything else, and we'll start thinking about something else, and we think of it more. Let me point out something to us. That's idolatry. When God's provision is not enough and you have to go somewhere else, and I don't care what it is. It could be money in the bank. What, you're not happy with how much you have? I mean, you can't be thankful you have a bank account? Do we complain because maybe there's a quarter tank of gas in the car? Or do we be thankful we have gas and just try to use it wisely? Too often we're willing to leave God and go back to bondage so that we can satisfy certain sinful desires. The message today, I was going to bring things differently, and then I realized I need to take a different approach because I can be pretty hard-nosed about certain things.
Amen.
You know, I was at certain times, and you'll see it again, no doubt. There's no doubt that sometimes where I've been, you're going to see me there again. Because sometimes if I'm getting to a place where I think we really need to be corrected, I'm not going to be, you know. Anyway, I was talking to my daughter the past couple of days. She's going to go to school. We're so anxious that she's going to go to school that, I mean, we're talking about the possibility maybe I'll go up north for 2 weeks, help her at least for that time, so she's got to ride back and forth.
Yeah.
But then again, she's got to be on her ball too. I told her, and this is an important thing for us Christians to think about, the stones you leave unturned will be the ones to trip you. In your spiritual walk and in your faith, the stones you leave unturned will be the ones that knock you down. So in our spiritual walking with God, we want to make sure that we're paying attention to everything. We don't need to go to the Bible halfway. I'll just get enough for today. If there's one thing I would say that we should have gluttony on when it comes to bread, let this bread be what we always want more of. May we never be satisfied with how much that we've had. Let us always be wanting more. If we are going to think that way about anything, we should be thinking that way about God's Word. This is where I would always say it's good to have a healthy appetite. It's where I'd always say make sure you get as many leftovers as you can to take home. Too often, we have a buffet before us. Some of us pretty happy about going to Golden Corral today. I think that's pretty cool too. But sometimes God sets a whole buffet before us, and what do we take? What do we take? We take crumbs. He's provided a whole buffet. It's all in here. And we take the least. We take what we have to, and that is it. We need to make sure if He's going to provide it, suck it up. Suck it up. You know, in the first 2 chapters of Proverbs, it talks about wisdom quite a bit. And people love to say, well, I don't have that much, so that's not my strength. You know what? I used to say that prayer was not my strength, so that was my excuse to not do it more than I did. I don't want us using excuses to avoid doing something because we say, well, that's not my strength. Our strength is to come out of the box that we put ourselves in sometimes. That's a little hard for us, ain't it? Because we're already set in our ways. We don't like change. We don't want to, we don't want to do things differently. Sometimes by saying that and living that and doing that, we're also not doing things God's way. God wants to use us, and we're saying, sometimes when I hear, I'm waiting on God. What are you doing in the meantime? What are you doing? Are you trusting? Are you obeying? Are you realizing that God is still working on you while you're in the waiting room? Or do you have to wait till He actually does something for you to open your eyes and see it? We're going to talk about this a little bit today. We have communion a lot. Before we hardly ever had it. I'm getting a little bit better about that. Because I do have an understanding we cannot neglect the Lord's table. So I'm learning. This has been a growth period for me as well, right? That's why I always say we're all in this together, because I'm learning too. And I just love the fact we can all do that together. In 1 Corinthians chapter 11. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, I'm actually going to start in the verse that is not marked on the bulletin. But that's just how this works sometimes, because I go all over the place sometimes. Starting in verse 27. And I want us to think about this, because I don't care if it's on a potluck day, I don't care if it's Golden Corral, Bob Evans, wherever we're at, whatever we're doing. If we're going to come together and we're going to eat, we should be thinking about certain things. Because we want to think about others. Therefore, whoever eats this, now this is talking about communion, okay? Therefore, whoever eats this bread or drinks this cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be guilty of the body of blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup, for he who eats and drinks in an unworthy manner eats and drinks judgment to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. For there's a reason many are weak and sick among you, and many sleep. So I'm learning that we don't want to neglect the Lord's table. And when I thought about what we're going to talk about here in just a couple minutes, it's amazing that, here I was because of what it means. And I think it's so important that it's supposed to be sacred. There are certain things we should never be careless about. And communion is one of those things. So that's why I held it so rare. But I'm getting better about that. We'll never do it every week, but we're going to do it more often. We have instructions for it. And in reading in chapter 11 of 1 Corinthians, and this is bothersome to me, but this is only one of the many things, that they were perverting communion. They were perverting it. See, and this is the thing about people. We love to have these celebrations so we can take advantage, so we can eat, so we can have a little extra, so we can have these certain feelings. We want to turn everything into a celebration. They were turning communion into a celebration. They wanted an excuse to make it a party. And therefore they profaned it, and they were dishonoring God. Because there's a way to do that. And instead what they were doing, and love feasts are a good thing. I think when we've talked about some of the holidays, most people don't like some of what I say. That's okay. I always say focus on the meal. The reason I say that is because that meal can be a love feast. It's a time for you to edify God with what you have, the provisions that you have. It's that time you can be with family. I really love that time. I think it's special. And I think it can mean a lot. Here in the Corinthians were perverting that time. It was supposed to be a love feast. The disciples, they ate bread together. They broke bread together. They did these things. I look forward to us doing these things. We're breaking bread together. But I also would have to say we want to focus on other people. Focus on how we're going to enjoy that. I encourage it. And I cannot say enough. It doesn't matter if you bring anything. Don't bring anything. Don't. If you're scared you're going to mess it up, come empty-handed. We just want you. We want to feed you. Anyway, they were perverting the Lord's Supper. Of all things that they were perverting, they were taking something so sacred and they were perverting it. That is the American way, some ways, and we see it a lot now too. We are perverting everything that God gives us. We don't use it for Him. If anything, we use it against Him. We have the provisions that He has provided, and we do not care to use them properly. Or how about this? What about when we're not grateful enough? Manna wasn't good enough. They wanted quail. They wanted meat. And here's the thing. As long as we let the enemy win, we're always going to want something we don't have. We're always going to want what's not there. You can give them 3 vegetables and they're still not going to be happy. They're going to say, well, I want this. Last week when I talked about Daniel, Daniel purposed himself that he would not eat food that was defiled. I would have to think that food that we're not thankful for is defiled. I would have to think that we've all lived a long life here. God has provided for us for so many years. We know better. We don't want to profane anything He gives us. We're supposed to be thankful for it. We're going to get into how did they pervert it. Conduct of the Lord's Supper, 1 Corinthians chapter 11. I'm going to start in verse 19. Well, no, in 17. Now in giving these instructions I do not praise you, since you come together not for the better, but for the worse. For first of all, when you come together as a church, I hear that there are divisions among you. And in part I believe it. For there must also be factions among you, that those who are approved may be recognized among you. Therefore, when you come together in one place, it is not to eat the Lord's Supper. For in eating, each one takes his own supper ahead of others, and one is hungry and another is drunk. What? Do you not have houses to eat and drink in? Or do you despise the church of God and shame those who have nothing? What shall I say to you? Shall I praise you in this? I do not praise you. Amen. Do we despise the people that don't have, or do we feed them? Do we have divisions? Do we make them feel like they don't count? Absolutely not. What these people were doing, you had the wealthy, they were bringing their own food. They'd make sure it was gone before the other people got there. They made sure that what they had thought was not going to be eaten by someone that they might have thought was a lesser person. What a disgusting concept. That's what they were doing. They were perverting the breaking of bread together. They were perverting that. And to me, I'm big on certain things. We're not going to do that. I want us to have good. I want us to enjoy meals together. I want us to do certain things together. That's how we grow together. I want us to have activities together. You know, I love the fact that in 3 years since this has been started, I've had people come up, and now we're starting to see different areas that we're getting involved in. I love it, not because it's God at work. It's God at work in a place where people kept trying to push Him out. We don't need a church here. That might be how some people feel. Absolutely right, Barb. As she said it quietly. I usually will say it out loud. Don't come. I don't ask people to come. I don't go knocking on doors. They're like this is a business. You know the only benefit that I have for doing this is the relationships that I have with you. The benefit I have for being up here is watching people grow. If it wasn't for that, my life I would feel like I had no purpose. My goal is seeing other people that have a closer walk with Christ because we're doing what we're doing here. Man, We don't have to worry about, not once have we ever passed any kind of offering plate around. Now, some people, they'd say I'm neglectful, because some people, they'll say, well, you should give a certain amount. And people have different ways to describe that. I don't have the overhead. There's times that, now we have a budget. Sometimes I think maybe the church, maybe one day it might be in a different place. Who knows? But right now, I'm going to enjoy this time. We don't have the overhead. We don't have to make sure a certain amount of money comes in. It's not a business. It's not a business, and I love that aspect of it. We don't pass a plate. And the reason we don't pass a offering plate, and I hope we never do, because then people that don't have much will feel like they shouldn't come. That's why so many people don't go to church today. Because they've been made to feel like they don't have anything to give. They don't feel valuable. Instead, the churches are saying, we always need more. We got another building we're doing. Me and Ronnie heard this quite a bit when we was up north. We need you to go above and beyond your normal giving. We have a project. I get mail from 4 different places because I want to buy a book, because I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to get better. So I would buy a book. Next thing you know, I'm on the mailing list for life. They're going to find a way to get money out of me. I'll never forget when me and Ronnie had a very down time, and when they tried to take the money for the sponsor a child. That was the only time I ever got a phone call. We couldn't get the money off your card for the sponsor a child. I'm like, can you sponsor me? I'm going to have to say. Some of these things, it really bothers me, because they're working on other countries, they're working on this, they're working on that, and they leave alone who's right in their own communities. They despise them just to serve others. You're supposed to start at home. You bless the people where you are. I was in a Christian bike club up north. I had to quit. They wouldn't do anything unless it was for a 1%er. Because they wanted to feel special. But how many people that didn't ride bike at all would they not touch? That disgusted me to the point where I said, you know what? This ain't for me. You are to serve who God puts in front of you, not who you want to serve. God is supposed to be designing our whole entire faith, and we like to make the rules. We pervert it. People today want perverted justice. In what way do I say that? Because they want justice just the wrong way. Thank you. Now be quiet.
Love you too, Mike. It's true.
They want perverted justice. We see it so much. And see, this is where, and the Bible tells us many are going to fall away from the faith because of what we see and what people get away from. We're going to fall away because of the lawlessness. There have been things that I've been following, and it's like, Lord, where are you during this time? They're going to get away with this. You know what? It's by design. What's for us to think about is God. He has to be the focus. And see, this is the problem, right? We'll take our eyes off God and we'll put it on everything else. We got to go back home. Going back home means going right back to God. It means He needs to be the focus. As soon as He's not the focus, you're going to focus on something wrong. And I've said this before, and I've memorized this. Well, I think we all should. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9. The heart is wicked. The heart will deceive us if we let it. When I hear famous people saying, follow your heart, I'm thinking, oh, great. That's the last thing we need. I don't want to follow mine. Because our own hearts will lead us to sin, unfortunately. This is why Jesus died on the cross, to set us free, and we don't get it sometimes. We go right back to the bondage. Christ says you're free. We're saying, I'm going back to Egypt because the food there was pretty good.
Sorry.
That's what they do. Sometimes we do the same thing, don't we? We'll be starting to sin a little bit less, a little bit less. We're trying to get better. Then something else comes up on the buffet that we like. Well, we're right back at the table just for that one thing. I remember people getting beat up at the buffet because they took the last of the crab legs. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. That happened. They got beat up because there were no crab legs left. You know, do we do that?
Yeah, we do.
Well, stop. Stop. No, stop. Because I want to make a point here.
Okay.
And I was going to be hard on this, but I decided to change it. Sometimes, and you know when you do a potluck, you have those people that come at the end, right? They want to take all of it. They want to eat for days. That's going to be monitored. Because we're going to make sure that people that cannot get out of their house are eating. Nobody's going to be eating for days. Nobody's going to take a thing and fill it up 3 times as high as it should be and take it home. That's gluttony. We're going to be thankful for what He gives us, and we're going to make sure other people have. That's why we're here, as far as I'm concerned. I've talked to Carmen, I've talked to Judy, I've talked to other people. We want to make sure that there's people here, right? And people will go to the potlucks, and it's a free-for-all at the end of the potluck. I remember Carmen telling me in one of the last potlucks we did, she couldn't even get a piece of chicken at the end. Unfortunately, I think some people might have left with a bucket of chicken, like it was KFC. We're not going to be doing that. That's one of my ways where I get hard-nosed. I'm going to make sure that we're not having extra, that we're overindulging, and the other people are starving. Not here. And I will be a jerk if I need to be.
No, it comes to you.
I know that's such a surprise for so many of us. But I've always had a soft spot for people when they're eating. I wanted to finish that. I think when someone's eating, it's not the time to take up a confrontation with them. I'll let them finish, and then I'll start something. You know.
Always have to. That's why you're so much better.
Because he was busy eating. Yeah, because
He wouldn't beat him up.
he didn't want the confrontation, so he just kept eating. So, but I don't want to poke fun at him either. Okay, I want to be cautious. This is church. Sometimes I let the comments go. Some of them are funny, but you know, at the same time, I hope we're hearing everything that's being said today. I think it's okay to have a little fun with it. A little. This is serious business. Loving other people is serious business. And there was something I read a couple weeks ago that I have not been able to forget. I didn't include it in the message that week. In Genesis chapter 8. Most of you know where Genesis is, so that's a big help. Genesis chapter 8. I'm going to read it. It was so profound that I memorized it, but I didn't use it. See, we talked about Jacob's ladder. And that's in Genesis chapter 8, Jacob's ladder. And at the end of it, in the morning, Jacob said, "Surely God was here and I did not know." I use that in a message because sometimes God is right there and we don't know it. We don't know it until we look back at something that happened in our life and we recognize God was there. And some things we look at now, if we would only truly see, we would see that God is there. He surely is in this place. He's in our circumstances. He's in our life. And sometimes we forget that. So right after that, I was reading. And I didn't talk about this that day. Like, that's a message all in itself. Genesis chapter 8, now in verse 16, that was what the focus was, right? In verse 17, and she was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? Actually, just before that, surely the Lord is in this place and I did not know it. Some of us go through life and we don't realize that God has been there the entire time. What a shame that can be for us. Let me fast forward. Genesis chapter 28 verse 18. This was so profound for me. It's embedded in my memory because we don't see it. I'll read it. Then Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put at his head, set it up as a pillar and poured oil on top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of that city had been Luz previously. Then Jacob made a vow. This is the crux of it for me. This is what I memorized. This is what we want to think about. Jacob, he made a vow saying, if God will be with me and keep me in this way that I am going, and give me bread to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. I'm going to reread part of that. If God be with me and keep me in this way that I am going, and give me bread to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. I'm going to finish that up. And this stone which I have set as a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, I surely give a tenth to you. So many people, on that last part, people worry so much about the tenth that they try to say, oh, he didn't mean it that way, he didn't mean it monetarily. It's turned into such a debate. Because people want to give in their own terms. They want to serve in their own terms. So we pervert it all by saying, by making it sound, and we'll say, well, I give a tenth of this. Anyway, that's a message for another day. The message that I had for today, the message that I couldn't help but keep thinking about, if he gives me bread to eat and clothes to put on. Bread to eat and clothes to put on. Wow, how profound is that? How many of us in our circumstances, in our life, would say that's enough? For a lot of people, their way of serving is if he gives me an abundance, if he gives me steak, if he gives me what I want, he will be my God. Jacob said, if he gives me bread and clothes, not if he gives me steak and Gucci. Miss Fancy Pants. In every part of our life we can see God. And sometimes when things aren't going right, things seem to be off, and we think God's not there. I really don't want to talk about God right now because he's just not helping me. No, maybe he is helping you, and you don't realize it. Maybe you're not thinking about bread and clothes. We want more. We're so good at wanting more. The only time we hear God give me my daily bread is if we pray that prayer. Whenever else we're praying, we're asking for all kinds of other things that we want. Things that we believe we need to have to live a fulfilled life. If you need anything more than Christ, you're off base. It all has to be about him. If your belly's not hurting because you're hungry, thank him. If you had to use water to do it, thank him. Don't like your clothes? Careful, Sandy. You know, I'll never forget, I watched a video, homeless man, he was singing. He was thanking God for that table. He was thanking God for his food. He was thanking God for all this stuff he had. I'm watching the video, I'm like, I don't see a table. I don't see no food. But he did. He did. Sometimes we miss everything that God gives us because we're not getting what we want. Sometimes we're missing the whole point, and so we don't recognize His presence in our life because it wasn't what we were looking for. Thank God for all the times He didn't answer my prayer. Or He did, He just told me no. We all can spend a lot of time saying, well, if God would give me this, then I can do that. You know what? You can do a lot with what God has given you now. And one of the biggest things I would have to say, use that to focus on other people. On others, that's what it's about. The Bible tells us we can't say we love God if we don't love other people. How do we get to that point? We pervert it. Well, let's just be nice to other people when it's convenient. Haven't forgotten when Carmen and Virginia ran into each other at the grocery store. Virginia ended up with a black eye. Is that the way we are when we go out? Right? Road's coming from 2 lanes to 1. We're already thinking, well, this guy, yeah, he's thinking he's going to be funny. Watch this. You know, I got a fast car. Yeah. Is that how we are? Or are we learning, loving other people? Are we saying, you know what, let them go? Maybe they're in a hurry. Half the time, do I think they are? For good reason, no. People rush to sin. They rush to do that. If there's one thing people can hurry up and get outside for, it's to do something wrong. I want us to make sure that everything in life, we're loving other people. It's something that we got to learn sometimes. Sometimes you have to love someone that they can. It seems they never do right by it. What matters is them. It seems to be the only thing that matters. Set the example. Set the example. We need to set the example because of what God does for us every single day. You know, I was able to pick on a few people today. And again, I will go right back to what I said at the beginning of the service. I am so thankful for the relationships that we have here. We are so blessed here.
Amen. Amen to that.
And if we're blessed here, let's show God that. Let's show God how blessed we are and how we serve Him. Let's make sure to put Him first, and we don't always have to see Him in the circumstances. He's there. We just tend to not see it sometimes. I'm sure when Carmen was laying in that hospital bed, one leg hanging off like she's half dead. I love messing with Carmen. She's such a good sport. Her and John have helped me immensely. I didn't accept it at first, but I'm still growing. And there's other people that have come up alongside me in the 3 years. Trust me, this has never been a Mike and Ronnie project. God is here. And we want to make sure He's at the focus of it. Christ is the center of everything that we do. Everything else is a byproduct of what we're trying to do. Let's make sure that we're living accordingly. Now, I know some of y'all, especially know the golden corral, you're chomping at the bit. So I'm gonna start shutting it down. We're gonna have that last song for them today, and then I'll pray us out.